And I'm going to explain that right now. All praises to Yahweh Shem Japheth Ham. With this lesson today is going to be basically going back, breaking down the difference between Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Okay? Ham. The reason why that's so important is because you got some people out there in these churches and in these schools telling people that the Edomites come from Japheth, all right? The fake Israelis come from Shem, and all the black people come from Ham. But as you can see, these are black people, these are black people, and these are black people. Okay? Get this up real close. We have Israelites, Japhites, and Hamites. All of them are black. All of them are people of color. All of them are people of color. But they're not the same. Now, where did that start? Where did that start from the, with these three different people? Well, let's go back to the flood. Let's remember our timeline. Okay, we know that the timeline, the flood, was what, about, what did we say, it was about 2600? The flood was about 2600 BC. I got it wrote down there somewhere. 2650, I believe.
$23.60.
Huh?
$23.60.
2360. So we had the flood, Noah's flood, 2360. Then we had the Tower of Babel. What year we have Tower of Babel? That was what, about 2200? 2200? If I remember correctly. I got my notes here. I just gotta pull them out. But it was about 2200. I got so many things I gotta cover today. I will be in town next week.
Okay, you got the flood, the Tower of Babel at 2200.
Tower of Babel, 2200. Okay? Now, at the flood, at Noah's flood, we get the three boys at 2360. Okay? And now, from 2200, then we got Esau and Jacob being born.
1836.
1836, approximately. These are what the scholars say. So, from 2360 to 1836. Okay, we got, that's what, 360, 2 would be 560, minus 30, 530, 524 years. So you got 524 years approximately between the time these three boys get off the boat until a person of another color is born, or another pigment or another complexion, right here. So from here to here, you got 524 years of nothing but dark-skinned people. Okay? Only dark-skinned. Okay? I hope my math is right on that.
It's 524 years.
Okay. All right, so 524, approximately 524 years. That's a long time. None of us can even imagine that. We can't even go back to the Renaissance. That's over 500 years. So for over 500 years, the Edomites have been ruling North America. They've got here in 1492. Okay? So for 524 years, you got only dark-skinned people, and this is what they look like. The Japhites, the Hamites, and the Shemites. Now, as you can see, they're all dark-skinned, but they don't look alike. They're not the same. And the Lord said that he would put a difference between Israel and Egypt. And he put a difference between Israel and everybody, because the Japhites don't look like us either. Now, everybody keeps saying, well, the Japhites are where Esau, the white people came from. The Edomites came from. The Edomites come from Esau. Esau was born at the same time Jacob was born. So these people, which are Shemites, they didn't come on the scene. These Israelites here didn't come on the scene until 1836 BC. However, they're Shemites. So you can safely assume or presume that the Shemites look like these people that are descendants of the Shemites. The Israelites come from Shem. Esau comes from Shem as well. From Shem as well, yes. But he was born special. Esau was born extremely hairy, red hair, red skin and red hair. And the reason why his skin was red on his face is because he had no pigmentation, no color in his face. Now, people want to say, well, he came out red. So he just had red skin. No, he came out hairy red. Red hair, and his face was red because the blood would show through the face. Because it said, wasted away is he, not... See, here's the thing. People want to say that, let's explain it this way. It says, I'm going to go to Genesis, where's my glasses? I'm going to go to Genesis 25:27. Let's read it. So everybody can get it right. And use basic logic to come up with your answer. Oh, while I'm gone, Ms. Mark, don't forget to have your booklet ready when you get to church.
Oh, well, I'm taking it Sunday. I would definitely have it.
Don't leave that at home, because they're waiting on you. Trust me, they can't wait till you get back there, because they're going to eat you alive.
No.
Okay? But as long as you got those photographs, you're going to eat them alive. All right. Let's go here to Genesis 25:25. It says, so when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. Now, there's a difference between a hairy garment and a bloody, what do we call? Oh shoot, I left two. Bloody garment. Even back in those days, the word bloody or blood was known. Now, pink wasn't a word back in those days. In 1836, there was no word as pink. All right. However, you had scarlet, you had red, and you had bloody. If he was just a red man with no hair on him, and his red skin looked like a hairy garment, they would have said he came out looking like a bloody garment or a scarlet garment. That would mean that he had no hair, but his red skin reminded you of a red hairy thing. But it said that he came out like a hairy garment. Okay? So the words in the book are very, very selective. The Lord doesn't throw these words in the book for no reason. So when it says, and the first came out red, He was like a hairy garment all over. There's another connotation of that. All over. So the fact that he said he was hairy and he was all over, it didn't say he was bloody all over. It didn't say he was scarlet all over. It specifically said hairy. Now, hairy didn't have to be, the word hairy did not have to be in there if it just stood for color. And that's what everybody is getting confused on. They're thinking that he was red. Like if you see a person today who goes out on the beach and they get a suntan and they get burned red. They say, well, you red like a hairy garment. No, you're not red like a hairy garment. You're red like a lobster, but you're not red like a hairy garment, because when you see a person that's just sunburned, you don't think hairy. You just think that he's burnt, or she's sunburned and now she's red, but you don't think that she's hairy. So the fact that it said, because it stops and it says, and first came out red, period. Then it says, he was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. So Edom means red. Being hairy is where they get Esau. They called him Esau because it says here, he was like a hairy garment all over, so they called his name Esau. Okay? Edom does mean red, and that was the name of his kingdom, the Edomites. He was the progenitor of the Edomites because he was red, and Edom means red. Okay? Because he was, I guess you could say, if you want to make the conjecture, he was hairy and red, and that's why they called him Esau. Fine. But you got to have at least one of them in there. Okay? But the fact is, he was like a hairy garment all over. Now, if it says you like something, it can't say that you're like a hairy thing and you got no hair. That's what everybody needs to get. You can't be like a hairy garment and you got no hair, you just got red skin. Okay? So all you ministers and all you professors need to get that right. All right. So let's get back to this is Native American history. So what we're going to do is we're always going to tie this into the Native Americans. This is where they come from. They don't come from Japheth. Now, if you can see, these Japhites, they're dark skinned, but they don't look nothing like us. Those are Australian Aborigines. Okay? Now, the Japhites were moved out of their land by the Greeks. They were the original Greeks. The Japhites were the original Greeks. But when the Macedonians, Philip and his son Alexander, so-called the Alexander the Great, when they came into power, they moved the Japhites out to the islands. So you have New Zealanders, Australians, Madagascans, Hawaiians. Those are all Japhites. Okay? So they got moved off of their land. Now, I'm just putting them up here so we can get a clear, a picture's worth 1,000 words. If you can keep it in your mind what the difference between the Shemites, the Japhites, and the Hamites. Now, if you notice, I've got to go and get a picture off of the computer and bring it here. It's very, very important. I've got to pause it right quick. Give me just a second.